Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We're going to get started. We're going to open up with prayer, and then we're going to sing a song. Okay. Well, y'all, we just coming for you right now. Just thank you right now for this Shabbat day. We just thank right now for just watching over us throughout this day. We just thank right now for blessing those right now that are here right now, Father y'all, and those that are here this message. Father y'all, we just thank right now as we come to you in the name of the Son, Yahushua Mashiach. Just come giving you all the praise. Come giving you all the honor, all the glory. We thank that we know we cannot praise you enough. We just want to lift up the name of your Son, Yahushua Mashiach, and we just bless you in the name of your Son, Yahushua Mashiach. We pray. Hallelujah.
In humble adoration, we bow before your throne. As we come before your presence, we honor you alone. So we lift up our voices as trumpets heralding you. You are the King of glory. So this is what we do. In humble adoration, we bow before your throne. As we come before your presence, we honor you alone. So we lift up our voices as trumpets heralding you. You are the King of glory. So this is what we do. We worship you today. 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 We honor you. We honor you today. 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 We worship 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 you today. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom, Miss Bakar. Okay. Thumb it up. All right, y'all. So we're gonna be dealing with abiding in your calling. We're dealing with coming from 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 20 through 24 is gonna be the basis of the lesson, but it's gonna be kind of general, talking about abiding in your calling. We're gonna get into some stories about making sure that you don't let somebody direct you off of the path that Yahuwah has you on, trying to follow a path they want you on. You got to abide in the calling that he called you to abide in. And so we're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, starting at that 20th verse. And that's kind of going to be where we're going to kick it off at. We'll kind of get into some more stories and kind of look at some examples where when ones got off the pathway, it didn't turn out good for them. So that's 1 Corinthians chapter 7, starting at the 20th verse. We're going to go down to the 24th verse. You can read if you get it. Yeah, 20th verse. Let every man.
Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called.
No, we're going to stop periodically. So if you hear that, say, let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. Not in some calling of somebody you think sound good or anything like that. You have to figure out what lane you're supposed to be in. Where did he call you? And what did he call you to do and abide in that calling? Unless he said something different, you're not supposed to listen to if you think you heard an angel or somebody in some dream or something. Anything different is going to be the voice of a stranger. And we know what the scripture said about that. You know, my sheep, they hear my voice. And they don't follow the voice of a stranger. They follow the voice of the good shepherd. And so we're going to look at this right here, saying the calling and where he was called. Go ahead.
21.
Yeah.
Are you called being a servant? Care not for it. If you may be made free, use it rather.
Keep going.
For he that is called in Yahuwah, being a servant, is Yahuwah's freeman. Likewise, also he that is called being free is Mashiach's servant. Ye are bought with a price, be not ye the servants of men. Rather, let every man wherein he is called, therein abide with Elohim.
And see, that's the thing. So you're bought with a price, be ye not the servants of men. And this was going on. The reason why I say that is because, like, even now, like, you know, I'm not trying to be commercialized out there dealing with a whole lot of activists and all that stuff. I mean, that's fine if that's somebody's calling, but I'm not going to let somebody come say, hey, I need you to come over here and do this, do that. I have to make sure that that's what, you know, the Most High is telling me to do. Right now, what I'm doing with these lessons that we're looking at is laying a foundation. And the end of that foundation is going to abide where the true ministry lies, which is about deliverance and setting people free, about breakthroughs and about the power of fasting and prayer and about what he gave me. But we have to lay the foundation first. So even now, some of the stuff we hear now even come from me, and it may not even be about us. It's just about getting to a point. And once it's all together, it'll all be a full, complete post. But right now we're laying a foundation, and the foundation is geared around getting equipped. And so we have to kind of, you know, deal with milk and meat at the same time. We can't just give all the meat. And so those that are used to meat, you know, have to bear with them because sometimes there has to be milk. So those that can, you know, be able to digest the meat when the meat comes. Because believe me, the meat will come, and it'll come at a time when you'll know that it's needed. Because where we're headed now, you know, you're going to have a powerful prayer life, a very personal, close walk with the Most High. And you're going to have to make sure that you're grounded and rooted where you don't be moved and shaken by what you're hearing in the media and, you know, social media and on the news and all this. You can't let that stuff interfere with the fact that the Most High told you to stand still and see the salvation of him. And that's the thing. That don't mean don't do nothing about the problem, but that does mean that the closer you get with him, the more you begin to get the instructions you need. You begin to hear what you need to hear from him. And you're not going to be to hear it with all the clutter and stuff like that. Sometimes you got to get away from, if a lot of you are on the Facebook, social media, it's okay to keep up with what's going on, but don't let it dictate the moves that you're making based on the information they're giving you. You have to make sure that the information that you get, you take it and you see what you need to do about it concerning the way Yah wants you to make a move on it, not get scared and say, okay, war is us because we're doomed. That's not how the Most High operate with his people. You're not supposed to get scared and tuck tail and run. You're supposed to figure out what instructions you need. We'll get down later to realize some stuff you have to push back that plate to really get some answers. You have to make sure that you're putting that flesh in subjection to be able to get certain answers from Yah. It don't all just come just at the mouth of somebody else, you know, or just because you happen to just, you know, stumble upon it. Sometimes you have to build that relationship up with the Most High. And this is we trying to build this foundation here to get to a point like that. But to get there, we have to deal with everybody from the youngest unto the oldest, so that everybody will be able to get the whole picture once we get to a point where it's all mostly strong meat. You know, at that point, it may get to a point where it may have to be 2 lessons, because it's going to get to a point where strong meat is going to be needed on a regular basis. But right now, we're trying to build up to a point where we can kind of, you know, mix it up and do a balanced diet. But this is here talking about, you know, abiding in the calling which you've been called. So don't let nobody take you off the pathway to go do anything that's not what the Most High told you to do. It don't mean it won't work. It means that now you stepped out of your lane and you don't have grace to do this job. You're doing it on your own ability and in your own strength. And that's what I refuse to do something on my own ability and in the strength and the power of my might. It's going to be the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, and that's the way we have to operate. You know what I mean? So when you're dealing with the Ruach HaKodesh, you can prepare all night and day, you know, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And when that time comes, the word begins to declare, it'll be told what you need to say in that self-same hour. Sometimes it happens just like that. It don't always be. I've had messages I had, and it's like, okay, no, not that. Not they say, no, this. I'm like, man, I did all this. Now it's this. You know, no, this is what I need. Because you did that, because this is what you thought you wanted to tell people. This is what I need you to tell them now. And so it began to switch up. So this is what I mean, stay in your lane. Don't let nobody take you off the pathway of something that, even if it seems like it's ignorant, do what it is that the Most High called you to do, and do that looks ignorant unto people, but it's going to come out right as unto Yah, and it's going to be as a form of worship unto Yah. You know, the obedience, you know what I'm saying? That's what we worship Yah at, through our obedience and through the fact that we're letting him direct our life, not just, you know, saying worship as in a sense of singing and stuff like that, but pure worship comes in when he began to, you know, put in your ruach to deny yourself and to let him live in you. When you begin to deny what your flesh want to do and what you think is right in your own eyes, because we know that the scripture said that's a way that's seen right unto man, but the end of that is destruction. So we don't want to do what's right in our own eyes. We want to do what's right in the eyes of Yah for us, even though it looks like somebody gave us a good idea or a good example to do it. Let every man abide in the calling where he was called. Not somebody else think you should be doing, because most of the time they don't have the whole picture. You done switched over into something that somebody told you to do that looks good, and then all of a sudden what you're supposed to be doing is lacking. It's not happening. You're like, well, man, I need to be doing this, even though you can do this and be successful in it. This is not the area that the Most High told you to come in. So you're actually missing something on this end. There's souls that need to be connected to you that can't get connected because you over here doing something different rather than what, even though you have the ability to do that, that's not where the anointing lies at. That's not where the grace lies at. So that'll burn you out. But you won't get burnt out in doing what the Most High call you to do, because there'll be a grace that you won't even know how you actually accomplish certain things. And you'll be like, man, where did I get the energy to do that from? Well, it came from the Most High, because this is your calling. You do it naturally. It's just like riding a bike. If it comes to you like that, that's the lane you need to be in. Don't get into a lane someone else has told you to get in. Now, the Most High will give you grace for multiple things, but he'll tell you when to do those things. He don't usually just have you run around like a chicken with your head cut off. So it's like we have to figure out what's the lane we're supposed to be in, stick with that lane, and stay in it until you begin to tell us to do something different. We're going to get into a story about an old prophet that came to give a word back in the book of Kings. And he was warned by the Most High, go give this word. Don't eat nothing, don't drink nothing, don't do nothing different, but give the word, and I want you out of there. Don't follow nobody, don't do anything. He went trying to do something different. And we're going to see how his outcome came. We're going to go to the book of Kings. 1 Kings chapter 13. We're going to start off at that first verse. And that's First Kings chapter 13. And remember, we're dealing with abiding in the calling where you was called. Now, that don't mean like we're not just dealing with like what you've been called to do as a minister. I'm talking about like he called you to do one task. He said, I need you to go do this particular task. And it may be a task that's involving just a few hours. He said, I want you to just say if you had to go give a word to somebody and go share something with somebody. He didn't say sit down and start no communion fellowship with them and nothing like that. He said, go tell them what I said and get out of there. You know, so it's the thing. Most of the time we get so caught up into trying to save face with people, trying to make sure we're not going to be cool with everybody. When you have to tell people what the word of Yah said, you're not going to always be in people's grace. It's not about how they took you. It's did you give the word to them what Yah said give them. This is where we get caught up into our emotion, into our feelings. That's why I was saying the destruction of that flesh. Once that flesh began to get destroyed, you begin to get from out of your emotions and feelings of what somebody else may think, or after you tell them something, you begin to say, okay, I did what the Most High told me to do. That's a greater thing, because the fact that now this may save the soul of the individual, or may turn around a whole function that they got going that's going south, and it may start going north because you went and told them what the Most High said, to tell them. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that whether it be a small task or a great task, we abide in the calling where it was called for a moment to do something, where you have an overall calling of a ministry that you're supposed to be doing. In each, make sure that you're doing what the Most High said do, not what people think you're supposed to be doing. Because if you start focusing on what people think you're supposed to be doing and what they like, then you get into, some form of worship of the, you're influencing the tickling of the ear. We don't want to hear about itching ear. We don't want nobody getting excited, jumping out their seat, but not getting no results. It's okay if you get like that and you get results, but most of the time when the prophets came back in the day, nobody was jumping out their seat. They was terrified because they had to get their house in order and get things together and do what thus says Yah. It wasn't about getting excited, getting a new car and who you finna marry. It wasn't all this flesh stuff, all the carnal stuff wasn't what they came to tell them. They came to tell them what was going to be eternal, what was going to actually make a big change. They came to like the whole Jerusalem or Israel as a whole. Look, this is what we need to do to turn our faith back to Yah and put away the wickedness from amongst us and the false hell from amongst us, so we can see Yah and get the presence of Yah in. The presence of Yah is not coming in when we have false idols in the way. Anything that you put in the way of him, there's a grace that he has on you, but the presence of him comes in when you actually put away things that you deem to be what you want, what that flesh want, that appetite. When that flesh appetite begins to be pushed to the side and you put what Yah want in front of it, then the presence of Yah begins to come in and work mighty in your life. Because he's saying, now I see he didn't even put this aside for me. He's showing me that even though he liked to do this, he's saying, look, I'm first. And this is when he begins to work mighty through you at that point. Because you say, look, nothing else matters but him now. And that's when it gets to that point. You can say, well, I used to do this, but that's why old things have passed away and the word begins to declare all things have been made new again. So I know I do a lot of talking, but we're going to go to 1 Kings chapter 13. And we're going to talk about this old prophet that got disobedient instead of sticking with the path which the Most High told him to stick with. He went to, trying to, kick it. And the Most High said, no, I didn't tell you to do that. I told you to do this, and I told you to get out of that. In 1 Kings chapter 13, starting at the first verse.
And behold,
16. Yeah, I'm ready.
and behold, there came a man of Elohim out of Yehudah by the word of Yahuwah into Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of Yahuwah and said, O altar, altar, thus says Yahuwah, behold, a child shall be born into the house of David, Yoshiyahu by name. And upon you shall he, am I right?
That's it, Josiah, the priest.
Okay. And upon you shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon you, and men's bones shall be burnt upon you. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, this is the sign which Yahuwah has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of Elohim, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, lay hold on him. And his hand which he put forth against him dried up, so that he could not pull it in again to him. Pause.
Now that's a whole message within itself. This is the truth. Test not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. This ain't no preacher that's up looking good. Somebody keep your mouth off the man and woman of God and all this stuff here. This is the real deal. He came to do a real job for the Most High. And when he stretched forth that hand froze up. He said, don't you do it. I got a word that got to come forth. And so when you really there in that place, that's when it happens. It don't happen by people that just talk and just look good and the flattery and all that stuff. When you really have that close walk with the Most High and he sent you to do a mission, he's not going to let nobody interfere with that mission if you're walking in him. And that's the thing. And it's not nothing you wish on nobody, but this is showing the facts of this person really had Yah with him. He wasn't just saying he came in the name of Yah. He was with Yah. He was on a mission from Yah. And so basically when he stretched forth that hand, you saw what happened right then. Go ahead.
The altar also was rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of Elohim had given by the word of Yahuwah. And the king answered and said unto the man of Elohim, entreat now the face of Yahuwah Eloheka, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored me again.
Oh, now the king want to believe. He said, don't you pray to Yah and let him fix my hand. We know he had did wrong. So this is my thing. Right here, you see what's going on. We're getting somewhere, though. We're not there yet, but we're getting somewhere. So now the king wants to believe. But keep watching what happens as we go forth. Go ahead.
And the man of Elohim besought Yahuwah, and the king's hand was restored him again, and became as it was before. And the king said unto the man of Elohim, come home with me, and refresh yourself, and I will give you a reward. And the man of Elohim said unto the king, if you will give me half your house, I will not go in with you. Neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place. For so it was charged by me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, eat no bread, nor drink water, nor turn again by the same way that you came.
So Paul, so you see what it says? Say he told him, don't do nothing with him. Don't fellowship with him, basically. Why are we fellowshipping with people that the Most High just told you to tell something? Now just you show up just because they're throwing a barbecue, you want to sit down and chill just because you feel like it's okay to do it. But this is what he said. He said, I will drink or eat nothing in this place. Because this place is an abomination, no matter if you, my kinfolks, whatever it is. If the Most High ain't saying do it, then it's like we have to get out of that flesh. We have to get to a point where it's not that we don't, honor ones that are like close to us and stuff like that, in a sense how we deal with them. But we have to get out of what we saw in church, everything going. It's like just because this person is doing that and we know them and this person is doing that and they close to us, we just show up anyway and chill and we see all forms of abominations going on there. This isn't every case, but there are cases where a lot of foul activities going on and you got over here they doing this, over there they doing that. And we showed up just because it was my house or Big Mama house, whatever, and we want to chill. But if he said don't do it, you ain't supposed to be doing it. I mean, especially not on a regular basis. This is where the separation comes in at. This particular case right here, he said, I won't do it. And in regards to how comfortable the situation may look, sometimes the Most High causes you to set a separation between you and someone else so that there can be a conviction. And that person may begin to draw nigh to Yah based on the fact that they see you change. You go ahead, baby.
I just wanted to make a comment. It reminds me of like the holidays that we've given up. Yeah. Certain things that people want to do, they want us to just stop by, but y'all not really celebrating. It's just to get together, But if you're not supposed to be celebrating it, if you're not supposed to be taking part of it, it's the same difference.
Keep going, baby. That's right. Because I don't really get people to talk, so I'm glad you did say something. And most of the time, it just be going. I be wanting people to put their some examples like that, so I just start going forth, but nobody was talking. But I'm glad you did say something. But that's right. We just show up, doing it, But
you're still partaking in the basic.
Yeah, that's right. You still partaking in it. It's okay.
You know what the gathering.
Yeah, you know what it's for. You showed up on Thanksgiving, and
right.
they having a Thanksgiving dinner. Get your plate. You got the plate. Now you sitting down talking to them, and you fellowship. You fellowship. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But that's how it normally works, though. That's how it normally works. You get the plate, and then once you do that, regardless of what, I will tell you, it changes your witness, because now they say, okay, yeah, because it excites them, because now you're a part of their thing. I don't want nothing, period. It's the principle why I don't want. I'll be starving and I'll wait. That's why we had to learn how to put that flesh on subjection. I'll wait. I'll go down the street and get a bag of chips before I do it. That's the thing, and that's the reason why we have to get to that point, because once you take that plate, at that point, you pretty much show some form of entertainment that you kind of agree with what they're doing. You join yourself to this particular situation. And that's the reason why we have to make sure that we ain't just doing it anyway. That go for all of them. You say, oh, it ain't nothing wrong. They're trying to sneak you Christmas gifts and all that stuff. And like, hey, look, if this is for Christmas, I don't want it. That's it. You know what I mean? Like that. You know what I mean? Like that. If you're just giving it to me, that's fine. But I'm not trying to entertain the fact that you're trying to give me a Christmas gift, because I don't celebrate Christmas. And that's the thing. And they just can't get it in their head. But this is the thing. We know better. And even though the king may not have meant any harm when he told this guy to come back and eat with me, he knew better. He knew better. King probably didn't mean any harm, but we'll see who meant harm to him later, but he knew better. He knew that he was supposed to do this and leave. That's why he made that big declaration. It don't matter what, I don't want nothing from you. I'm not going to eat anything you say in this place. Because when he say this place, that means it's a place of abomination to him. It's a place that he feel like is not worthy. And it's the thing, just like when he told the disciples, Yeshua Mashiach said, go that way, don't take no 2 cloaks, don't take anything, just go take the word and find out who is the person that's worthy in that city, and therein you abide. That's what he told them. This is what Yeshua Mashiach told the disciples. If you go into a house and you see that there's peace in this house, then you leave your peace there. If they receive your word. If they don't receive your word, then leave that house. He said, so this is the thing. So, and if you see that the house is worthy, this is what he told the disciples. But this case here, this guy saw that it wasn't worthy. This place couldn't have been worthy because he came down to rebuke it like that. So now why are you trying to eat with him, and why are you trying to make it like it's cool to do? Because once you entertain it, you're saying it's okay because they're looking at you. They know you're different already, and they're looking at you, and you're the only witness. Sometimes they see, sometimes you the Bible that they're looking at. They're not looking at reading the Bible. They look at, okay, we know such and such don't never come around. Now they came out. We're having this Christmas bash or whatever you want to call it, you know, whatever, the St. Patrick's Day, all this stuff. I mean, like I said, there's just so much of it they done bamboozled with and just bombard us with all this foolishness to the point where we don't know which way to turn. It's one day after another. It's all kind of holidays now. I think it's all kind of different days. They got a day for everything, siblings and all kind of stuff now. So they say, look, we just gonna push it down their throat. Now they're not gonna get a break. Now, and the more you keep focusing on that stuff, that's why I know that even though I know we memorialize and we can't do some of the feast days correctly based on culture, I do them. Matter of fact, to combat some of the foolishness that they gave us, because we didn't have anything. We wouldn't have been forced to do Christmas and all this stuff. We'd have still been doing feast days, and we were back at our home. We'd have still been doing everything. Because when Daniel came, you know, before the king, he said, I'm not going to bow down. He said, I'm not going to bow down when I hear the noise, when I hear the music play. I'm not going to bow down. I'm not going to eat your food. He said, I'm not going to do it. And Daniel made a stand that he wasn't going to do it when he began to hear the music. That's why they had to trick him and make this particular declaration. And the king had to make they tricked the king to make us to sign his name saying, who don't do it is going to be worthy of death. And this is why Daniel winds up into the lion's den, because he made that stand. He's not going to bow down and worship anything. And this is the thing. When we hear, I was just talking to Alka about this the other day, when we hear this stuff, it reminds me of the music. All the propaganda, all the news and everything reminds me of the music. The act of worship is the actual, you know, it's the jab, pretty much. That's where you bow down at, when you let somebody invade your privacy, you know what I'm saying, your physical being, and take away your, you know, your free choice. And that's when you actually begin to bow down to the music. And the music is everything that they created, everything that you see going on the media, is to incite the fear to get you to break and to go into something that they themselves are not even sure about you trying to do. And so I'm not going to really speak much on that, but just saying, when the Most High shows you something to do that and don't get away from it. Go ahead, babe.
All right, so 10. So he went another way and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of Elohim had done that day in Bethel. The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father. And their father said unto them, what way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of Elohim went, which came from Yehuda. And he said unto his sons, saddle me the ass. So they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon, and went after the man of Elohim, and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, are you the man of Elohim that came from Yehuda? And he said, I am.
Pause it. Now, basically, you see what happened? Pretty much a miracle happened when he prayed, and the king got his hand, you know, restored back. And so what I'm saying is, when people find out you can do something, they want to start trying to, you know, run after you. It was the same thing when Yeshua Mashiach was doing all the healings and stuff. You know, it was like multitudes of, you know, ones coming. So at this particular point in time, we see this. They've heard the man of Yah, and they've seen with the miracles. Basically, when he got his hand restored, the king got his hand restored after the king entreated the prophet and said, hey, look, pray to Yah for me that he may fix my hand. And it says hand came back to normal. So at this particular point in time, we have the fame that scattered abroad. Just like it said in the new covenant, it said the fame was scattered abroad when all the healing was going forth. Well, this fame was scattered very quick. At this particular point, they went and found their father, which is an old prophet, and told them what this prophet said. So this is what we have. One prophet to another prophet. It don't matter if they're a prophet. We'll see. Just because they're a prophet too, what did he tell you to do? This is the thing. It don't mean they don't come changing nothing that you supposed to be doing. We don't have these cases going on because this is a stranger. The king don't know him. The scriptures say, know those that labor among you. This is why I was telling you out the other day. I said, I understand that you're saying you're a moray or elder, whatever you say you are, that's fine. Unless I see you doing the work personally, unless I see you doing that in my life, I'm not trying to call you all these different titles because I'm not caught up to no titles. This is what he told, we'll get into what he told Tim. He said, do the work of an evangelist. Make full proof of that ministry. Don't call yourself now. I want you to do it. Because if you call yourself apostle, I need to see some power come behind you. I need to see what he told when he sent them all out, he sent them out to heal the sick. He sent them out to set the oppressed free. He said he gave power unto all 12, not the 2, not the 3, not the 4. So if you're missing it, then somewhere along the line, you need to drop that title and let the power come. He told Timothy to do the work of an evangelist. Do the work. And as you start doing the work, I'll see you based on the work. He said, if you don't believe me for the very work's sake. This is what Yahushua HaMashiach was saying. Don't just believe me because of what I'm saying. Believe me based on what you've seen me do. And this is the thing. We so quick to believe people because somebody else to sign off on them, and we don't halfway know them. We just hearing something that sounds good. At this particular point in time, there's an old prophet that's finna try to speak to this new prophet here that heard directly a fresh word from Yah. He's going to tell him what he thinks he should be doing. Go ahead.
Then he said unto him, come home with me and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with you, nor go in with you. Neither will I eat bread, nor drink water with you in this place. But it was said to me by the word of Yahuwah, you shall eat no bread, nor drink water there, nor turn again to go by the way that you came.
See that? And so it was said unto him by Yah. Now we hear what's going on. He's saying something different, but this is what he needs to stick with, is what Yah told him, not based on what this other individual is trying to tell him. See, it don't matter. Yeah, they may be a prophet, but are they supposed to be prophesying in the move you supposed to be making? This is the thing. And they ain't even gonna really deal with that, because most of the time when we dealt with this stuff, it was coming straight from Yah. We have now the gift of prophecy that has came down to us right now that we can actually all operate if we want to covet that gift. So there's no one person supposed to be having jurisdiction of your life, directing you, telling you what to do and stuff. That's witchcraft. Because the Most High, you have the Ruach HaKodesh, and if he put you under the authority of somebody, that's different, but you need to be under the authority of them. Somebody coming out the blue, telling you, talking about thus saith the Lord and stuff, you have to make sure that your spirit, the Ruach in you, begins to get a confirmation from what they're telling you to do, because if it's contrary to what you feel in the Ruach, then it's contrary as a whole. That means it's offensive, because you're not supposed to be accepting anything outside of what Yah told you to do. 18.
He said unto him, I am a prophet also as you are. And an angel spoke unto me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, bring him back with you into your house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him.
See that? Say he lied to him and said, angel told him. Now we're gonna look and see where the word of an angel does not supersede the word of Yah. We're not supposed to listen to angels. This is where we get caught up into a lot of supernatural, superficial stuff that's going on, stuff that's not real, basically. You know, we get not saying, I mean, I believe in angels, I believe they're messengers, I know they're around, but when you start having dreams and you start having angels come to you and people so-called come to you in dreams, if they go against the word of Yah, it's not of Yah. I don't care what you say, it's not of Yah. And a lot of people get caught into that. Don't be led by a whole bunch of superstitious stuff that's contrary to Yah. It don't mean I'm open to the Ruach HaKodesh in the Ruach realm of stuff and things that happen, but we have to be careful on what it is that's talking to us at the time. It can be any type of Ruach talking to you. It said he lied unto him. Then it said he was a prophet too. It didn't say he was a soothsayer, anything like that. It said he lied unto him. And so we're gonna go here and look at Galatians chapter 1, verse 8 and 9. But hold that right there. Galatians chapter 1, verse 8 and 9. 16, 17. Yeah, 8 and 9. My bad. Now he said an angel spoke to him, remember? He said, an angel told me to tell you that it's okay to do this. Even though Yah said don't do it, he's telling you an angel told him. Now, you're going to listen to the angel that told him or Yah that told you. This is where we put power against power. The angel's word don't supersede or go over the word of Yah.
Galatians 8, I'm sorry, what chapter?
It's gonna be Galatians 1, verse 8 and 9, I think.
Galatians 1. But though we are an angel from heaven, preach any other Basora or gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so say I now again. If any man preach any other Basora unto you that you have received, let him be accursed.
And I have to go from this right here because now we have the whole picture. We went into the schoolmaster there, but we came back into the new and renewed covenant. He said, though we are an angel from Shamayim, preach any other, to say gospel Basora unto you, then let him be accursed. So you're not supposed to hear no different word of anything that Yah has spoke to you. It don't matter if it's in the Bible. Oh, look, the Bible says you can do this, but this isn't what he told me to do right now. If you're not operating in some form of sin or transgressing unto Yah, and you're doing what Yah said you told you to do, and someone is trying to direct you on a different path, stick with the call in which you have been called. So don't listen to him because an angel told him, because he a prophet too. What does that mean? I mean, that's the thing. What does it mean to you? This is the thing. We have to learn how, when the scripture says, know those that, that labor among you. So if you're laboring among me, and you have to be laboring among me. Like you have certain ones that had like Elisha and Elijah, they were laboring among each other. So he took him at his word because he labored with him. But what gives you these merits and this credit to bounce out of nowhere and start telling me what the Lord told you to tell me? You hear what I'm saying? I'm using that because this is what we heard in the Christian church, the so-called thus says the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Now we're hearing what Yahuwah is saying do, and most of this stuff that we're seeing here, most of this stuff is just a bunch of, if you don't watch it, you jump out of Christianity into a whole nother form of religion. That's the thing. So you have to make sure that you're not getting out of one religion into another religion. You have to make sure you're sticking with the basics. So it said, though we are an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel unto you, let them be accursed. And so we're not supposed to be hearing anything that nobody said that an angel told them to tell unto you. So you don't have to. Let's look at Colossians 2 and 18 right quick, just to kind of back that up, where you keep repeating it over and over again. Don't listen to angels over Yah. That's it. Because that means that, so to say that, then one can say it. But it don't mean you're supposed to be listening to what an angel has said unto Yah, because remember how marvelous, how Satan keeps transforming himself into a minister, into an angel of light, into ministers of righteousness. And so this is what we have to look at. This is what I'm saying, but we'll get into meat. This is like little snippets of the meat that you're getting to knowing what happens in the Ruach world. This thing, but right now we have to deal with the basic, so everybody can kind of get to a point where they can receive it. And what I tell you again, Colossians. You can just read that one. Colossians 2 and 18.
Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels.
That's what I know it's not a period. So I just wanted to just say that one part of just basically, and I know it's more to it, but I'm just trying to show, don't get caught up into worshiping no angels. Don't get caught up into hearing the voice of angels. You're supposed to be hearing the Ruach HaKodesh. You know what I'm saying? The angels are messengers, but they're not supposed to go against what Yah said. They're supposed to be sent by Yah, not come to tell you to do something on their own, through their own ability. And so this guy said an angel told him, but it said at the end, it said that he lied unto him. Go ahead. You're going to pick back up on, I think.
I need to know exactly what it is.
18. 1 Kings 13, verse 19 is where you need to start at.
Okay. So he went back with him and did eat bread in his house and drank water.
Oops, right there, he messed up. So the Most High said, don't eat nothing, don't drink nothing. Earlier, I already said, I won't eat or drink nothing in this place. What happened? Somebody came along and changed his mind. You saw the whole story. We start off with the king, and we see that when the king begins to stretch forth his hand to put his hand on the man of Yah, his hand withered up. He entreated and say, pray to to Yah for me that my hand may be fixed. He entreated Yah, and the hand became back as normal. That was the miracle. When that miracle happened, then the sons of this prophet found their dad and said, look, I want to tell you what all this man just did. He said, go get him. They salved the ass up, he found him. So when we get to this particular point, we see now he's got a word, and his word is coming from an angel, not from Yah. But this guy heard from Yah, don't eat nothing, don't drink nothing, don't you mingle with them. Show them that it's a difference. He said, come out from among them and be separated, says Yah. And that's the problem. We just look to be confident so much by people, and to the point we feel like we gotta please them. Forget about pleasing them. This world is so, it's like we just a vapor. It's like we're here one day and gone tomorrow. I mean, I say that because I mean, I just had a cousin get killed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we see all this stuff happen. I was just looking at him on Facebook, walking, normal. Now he's gone. I'm just using this as an example. I mean, just so quick we can be gone. I mean, we could just be an afterthought real quick. It's like we have to make sure that while we're here, that we're actually doing what the Most High told us to do, not what people want us to do, because we don't have a lot of time. It's going to get rough very soon. I don't know how long we got, but I know that it's not getting better. It's going to get better for those that's in Yah, but I'm saying for those that are listening to the music and the sound of everything that's going on, it's not going to get better because it's going to frighten you and you're going to be scared. But if you're in him and say, he did not give you the ruach of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And that's the thing. So we have to make sure that you're doing what Yah wants you to do and not what people want you to do. And this is why we have to get back to looking at when this guy did this, you know what I'm saying? He already knew he went against what he felt to appease what another prophet told him, but he was a prophet too. His word was of an angel. His word was from Yah. And so who do we follow? We follow Yah, not angels, not angels that's in the form of people that's saying, hey, look, I'm this or I'm that. The Most High told me to tell you, you need to be doing this. They don't have a better way for you. The way is the way that Yah has told you to follow, unless you're under the umbrella of someone ministering something and they're supposed to be shepherding over your soul and then they're guiding you. That's different. But this guy came out of nowhere to go tell him something different than what the Most High told him to do. You go ahead.
20. Yeah. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of Yahuwah came back into the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of Elohim that came from Yahuwah, saying, thus says Yahuwah, for as much as you have disobeyed the mouth of Yahuwah, and have not guarded the commandment which Yahuwah Elohim commanded you, but came back and have eaten bread and drank water in this place, of which Yahuwah did say to you, eat no bread and drink no water, your carcass shall not come into the sepulchre of your father.
Now this same prophet turned right back around, gives him a word that just told him another word. Y'all spoke to the same one that said the angel told him. Guess what? Now angel's not talking to him. He's the Most High is really using this guy now to say, you messed up. Basically saying, you shouldn't have listened to me. You should have listened to Yah. Now, ain't this tricky? I mean, you didn't listen to somebody like, man, I thought you was up. No. Why did you listen to him? This is the thing. This is the same example. Okay, say, why did you listen to me and what my angel said or what the angel told me when you already heard from Yah? Now, guess what? Now Yah is telling me to tell you you done messed up. Is this the thing? So why get tricked? Because most of the time people are going to be off anyway. When you really know something, you're sound into what you feel you're supposed to be doing, they're most of the time going to be off because it wasn't given unto them. That's why Apostle Paul began to declare this revelation wasn't given to me by man. And those that had thought they were somebody had nothing unto me. I didn't respect their person. It wasn't to disrespect them, but I couldn't let their titles and whoever they were supersede what Yah told me to do. It may be like they don't think you should be doing it, but it don't matter. This is what he said do. Say, so I'm going to stick with this. It was given to me by revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, basically is what he said. So go ahead with it. See what happened to this prophet.
And it came to pass after he had eaten bread and after he had drank that he saddled for him the ass to wait for the prophet whom he had brought back.
See that? So he fixing the ass for him for the prophet that he brought back. So it's like he dressing it all up for him now. He tricked him, gave him a fake word, gave him a real word. Now he's finna see how destruction gonna come. Go ahead.
And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way and slew him. And his carcass was cast in the way, and the ass stood by it. The lion also stood by the carcass.
See that? The Most High let the lion stand by the carcass. You know what I mean? So this is the thing. So this is what happened. He got tricked in the end. So basically, don't let nobody trick you out of your position. Don't let nobody get you to doing something different than what the Most High told you to do. You got to do what he told you to do, not what people think you should be doing, because this guy did what people think he should be doing. He said, look, you need to come back and eat with me and come drink with me. He already knew not to eat and drink, just like my, Esau was just saying a minute ago. Don't do it. Don't go to the celebration and begin to entertain those that's saying that it's Thanksgiving or it's Christmas just because it's a loved one. Don't eat that, because when you do that, you can eat any other day. Why today? Why you call me on this abomination day here, to eat with you? A day that I know that this is a day that they have deceived men of the masses. So I'm not going to eat. I'll come tomorrow. I may not if it's left over from that. You know what I mean? Like that. So it just depends on which way I'm led to go. But I won't come the day that I know is the day that they have ordained to be this day to be, worshiping something that's, a false idol, pretty much. I'm not going to come on that day. And that's the reason why we have to look at, you know, when the Most High tells you to do something, right at this point, this man's, I would look at it in this day and time, his whole ministry was destroyed. Everything he had going on for himself was destroyed. We have a lot of people that get destroyed at the hands of others. We see them go under the umbrella of somebody, and then the next thing you know, they're not even involved in the word no more. They done got destroyed in their mind and been warped by this particular individual to the point where they can't even hear from Yah no more. Because this is all they see. I mean, look at Isaiah. It said in the day that King Uzziah died, that's when he looked up and saw the Most High sitting lofty in there. He said he saw when he had died. Was he blocking his vision from sinning? I mean, while he was there. So this is the thing we have to look at. Don't let nobody get in the way and block the way of, you know, your vision from the Most High based on you trying to follow their vision. That's why we start off saying, let every man abide in the calling way in which he was called, not the calling somebody else was called. You're not supposed to be many ministers of and mimicking these people on TV and stuff like that, because they're on TV. Go there for a couple of weeks, you'll probably say, man, this isn't the person I saw on TV, and spend real time with them. You'll get a different individual like that, because there's a lot of stuff that go on in the back scene that you don't get a chance to see from individuals. So that's why the word said, know those that labor among you. You're not supposed to just hook up with people on the fly and let the Ruach show you this is somebody. Well, you have to start it, but they have to get to a point where they've labored among you to have space in your life to come trying to tell you what the Most High said do. We don't show up at a church out of the blue, at some ministry out of the blue, and just begin to people land. Be quick to lay hands on no man. Don't let nobody be laying hands on you in importance, Ruachs in you, and you don't know what's going on just because you showed up at a scene. That's why we have to be careful. Just where the Most High told us to go. Sometimes he may tell you to go somewhere, but he didn't tell you to go and get caught up into them running around, jumping around and stuff like that. And he told you to go say this and get out of there. And if we do that, we won't have nothing to worry about. All right, let's look at
I just wanted to add it, you know, the prophet, the younger prophet, I guess. The new prophet. They can, okay. Everyone can hear me? Yeah. I think they can. You can hear me? Okay. All right. So you know, he let his flesh get in the way. So, you know, he was hungry. He wanted to eat that bread and drink, you know. His flesh get the best of him. And not only that, you know, since the guy was saying he was a prophet as well, you know, he's probably looking at him, thinking he's somebody.
Looking
you know,
up to him.
Honored, you know, to eat in the presence of this prophet, you know, let his flesh get in the way. What the Most High told him to.
Keep going. Shoot, anybody ain't talking nowhere. Let's look at 2 Timothy chapter 4. This is 1683. So basically, we gotta remember to make sure we're not letting anybody else's word, you know, go over what the word of Yah told you to do. That's what we're looking at. So let's look at and we kind of tying this in to see what's supposed to be happening here, you know, and not just a lot of letting people run you around and, you know, and send you in a certain direction in areas that you're not supposed to be going in. You going in areas you're not supposed to be going in, communicating with those people. This showed you don't go in and eat dinner with them and do all this stuff, because at that point, they're saying, oh, you with us now. You're not supposed to be with them. Why are you going there to entertain them in their, you know, abomination at the time? 2 Timothy gonna be 4, starting at the first verse.
I charge you therefore before Elohim in the Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom.
Pause it here. So basically, this is Apostle Paul telling Timothy what he needs to be doing. Go ahead, because see now, Paul and Timothy had a relationship. This wasn't a situation where Paul showed up out the blue, showing you the example. When you see somebody talking to somebody in the new renewed covenant, they're not just showing up, you know, on the fly, just telling somebody what they think they should be doing. You know, this is coming from somebody that actually been laboring among him. Go ahead.
Preach the word. Be ready in season, out of season. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine.
So Paul, so this guy was supposed to do this with all long suffering and doctrine. The old prophet that we see back then was supposed to do this with long suffering. He wasn't supposed to eat. And if he felt like he had compassion on the people that wanted him to eat there, he still wasn't supposed to do it. He said with all long suffering and doctrine. Go ahead.
For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. But watch in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry.
Oh, that's it right there. So what did he tell me? Say, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of your ministry, not somebody else's ministry. He said, make full proof of your ministry. And this we're getting back to. Say that's why I said in the beginning in 1 Corinthians 7, let every man abide in the calling where in which he was called. And we tying it in right here at the end of this. Paul tells Timothy, and at the end of this verse here, verse 5, make full proof of your ministry, not proof of somebody else's ministry. Don't be doing something different that you think, somebody else told you to do. Don't try to follow somebody else and build up a platform based upon what they did. And he said, make full proof of your ministry. And so I know we're getting down to the end. We just kind of just throwing a few things here now just to give us some hope here, you know what I mean? So after looking at that there, it just shows that if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you don't have anything to worry about as long as you stay in the lane you're supposed to be in. Let's look at Isaiah 61:1. We got two more and we'll be getting out of here. Isaiah 61, starting at the first verse. And after that, we got one more we'll be getting out of here. Be Isaiah 61, starting at the first verse.
In the year that King Uzziah died.
Okay, we're on the same one. Isaiah 61?
Oh, 61.
Yeah, 61. Sorry. I was just talking about that.
I thought you said 61.
Yeah.
I thought you did.
Yeah.
61. Chapter 61. The Ruach Adonai Yahuwah is upon me, because Yahuwah has anointed me to preach the Besorah and to the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, the recovery of sight to the blind, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahuwah and the day of vengeance of our Elohim, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn to Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes.
Now this is the point. So he's going to give unto them what? Beauty for ashes. Go ahead.
The oil of joy for mourning.
The oil of joy for mourning.
The garment of praise for the Ruach of heaviness.
And this is my favorite one, the garment of praise for the Ruach of heaviness. So if you put on that garment of praise, it'll begin to lift that Ruach of heaven. This is what I'm saying. When you put on that garment of praise, it begins to lift the Ruach of heaven. When you enter into real worship, I'm talking about to a point where not just going in there to do the physical act of praise right then, that's true. But when your lifestyle begin to follow with praise, when everything that you see that's going on, you begin to reverence praise. You use praise to combat. This is what's going on, not just all the fly, okay, I feel like I went to pray. No, when your lifestyle begin to follow with a worship and praise, the worship is the obedience, but to the point where you worshiping Yah. Like people worship things. When you have somebody that's got something that's got their whole attention, their whole understanding, you got people worship their job, they worship people. When you worship Yah, you begin to want to do the will of Yah. And then therefore you will begin to praise him even more. That garment of praise, when you enter into that place, not the praise where you just say the praise. He'll still, it's true. It'll still happen, but to get true results, you need to make sure you're in a position of praise where your whole life will begin to be a lifestyle of praise, a lifestyle of fasting and prayer, and a lifestyle of entering into a place with Yah where he'll begin to come see about you when things seem like they're going south, because he begins to know you. Just like when the 7 sons of Sceva begin to try to cast that demon. Now they say, we know Paul, we know Yahushua Mashiach, but who are you? He'll begin to know you. Go ahead.
That they may be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of Yahuwah, that he might be glorified. And
that's it. So basically, this is the thing. That's one of my favorite scriptures too, when he say begin to give you, a relief based on the way that you're operating in praise. When you begin to praise, it begins to lift that spirit of heaviness up. And that praise is just like I said, not just because something has went wrong, not that praise, but a praise where you're praising on a regular basis, whether things are going right or wrong. Out there, nothing is happening. All of a sudden, you just out there praising Yah just for the simple fact that he is, because the fact that you woke up this day, you just want to give him praise. That when you're doing that, you're going to give him praise when things go wrong. And when things seem like it's going south, that's going to happen anyway. We don't want to single out to only when things go wrong, you're calling on him. We want to call on him at all times when things are right and when things are wrong. This is the thing. It begin to look crazy. It begin to look stupid unto people. But this is where we're not worshiping people. We're worshiping Yah. That's why we are peculiar people. We're not supposed to be common unto those that are not worshiping Yah. Because those that know Yah for real, they'll understand the praise. They'll understand the worship. They'll understand why you chose not to do what they're doing. They'll understand that just because they saw you one way 2 years later, well, 2 years have passed now. You got people get small partial college degrees in 2 years. I mean, so it's like we can't go off of what they saw you doing last. We have to go off of what you're doing now and what the Most High has told you to do at this point in time. Because in this hour, we're in that hour saying the last days is going to pour out his ruach upon all flesh. And this is the thing. So we have to get to that point to look at, what's going on. And we're going to get to the last scripture. This is it right here. The last one is going to come from Matthew 17. And we're going to talk about, because we've been pushing back the plate here and there periodically. We can talk about it because it's not happening now, because we don't like wanting to just announce it unless it's a corporate thing, but just saying, trying to get back into that fasting, into that prayer, get back into that pushing the plate back here and there so we can develop that actual relationship with Yah. Once you start doing that, the flesh starts weakening. And as the flesh starts weakening, the ruach starts getting strengthened at that time. And then your prayers begin to be more powerful unto Yah. And so let's look at Matthew 17. This is the last one. And we're going to look at the power of fasting and prayer. And this is kind of all tying it into, making sure that you abide in your calling, but you need this to abide in it. You just can't just say you're this and then everything works out right. You have to develop that relationship with Yah and do the necessary steps that it takes to actually be strong in the area he called you to be in. Matthew 17, starting at I think at the 21st verse. 21st? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Howbeit this kind goes not out.
Okay, then let's go up a little further. Let's go to 14. Start at the 14th verse.
And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him and saying, Adonai, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic and sore vexed. For all times he falls into the fire and off into the water. And I brought him to your Talmudim, disciples, and they could not cure him.
Pause. Now, see, it's the thing. He said, I brought them to your disciples and they could not cure him. You know why? Because the power they had, they got that power straight from Yahushua HaMashiach. He said, I give you power to go out, heal the sick, and to cast out devils. I can't give you a fast. I mean, you have to push that plate back on your own. I'll give you this power, but some of these things you'll be able to do with the ability of just me. But some of them, you got to really put forth that sacrifice so that you can actually perform that flesh in you at that particular point in time. Like we have certain cases. I know this is like I'm not gonna mix this up, because it's probably a different lesson. But there are times when things happen quick based on you just praying. There are times when you have to go in real heavy and hardcore to get these things to happen, to certain obstacles that need to be moved out of your place and out of your way. Certain demons understand only the power and they understand only the destruction of the flesh. This is where it comes in at where it said, pick up your cross daily and walk, or pick up the stake daily and walk. When you begin to crucify that flesh, we begin to crucify that flesh. At that point, they see then that the prince of this world has nothing in you. They say, okay, now he done destroyed that flesh. We got to go. Because at that point, you're operating in full power. Certain things, I can't get into how to explain them, but certain ones understand and communicate only at the destruction of the flesh. It ain't always just no quick prayer and then it go. Like that, we have to look at this, because if that's the case, there's no reason to even put people on saying he would be called the least in the kingdom of Shamayim, he would be great. And there's certain levels that you're going to be on. Even here, certain jurisdictions are responding to certain areas. Like you have certain areas, we don't get into all that, but just saying that whatever you got going on in your life, most of the time, if you're trying to do something that's not happening, sometimes you got to push back that plate. And I promise you, at that point, you'll either get it going, or the answer will come why it's not going and what you need to do to get it going, or there'll be a time you have to suffer with it. You'll get a response if you push back the plate. So go ahead.
Then Yahushua answered and said, O faithless and perverse nation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And Yahushua rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him. And the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the Talmudim to Yahushua apart and said, why could we not cast him out?
See, the question comes up, why can't we cast him out? You know what? With that power that you gave us. He said, I give you power. And he said he gave all 12 of them power, and he sent them out with the power to heal the sick. He gave them that power. This is something that they received from him. But this right here is the power I gave you is good, but I need to know that now you're willing to let your flesh die so that now we can get to the next level and get this demon out. This is the thing. So don't think you can just do it on the word of individuals. You can hear me all day. You can hear other ones that's telling you something all day, but it gets to a point where the word said, study to show thyself approved under Yah. This is the thing. So you have to get to a point where you know how to actually get to a point where you need to be at without listening to just what you heard. There has to be some form of action. You can only mimic somebody to a certain degree. You will say, okay, that boy just like his dad, he just like this, he just like that, but it gets to a point he stops. Well, it was some training that he missed. No, dad had a personal trainer. He did this, he ate a certain way, he did certain thing. He didn't do that part. So when the pressure began to come in, he couldn't withstand because there was some stuff he was missing. So at this particular point in time, we'll get and see why couldn't they cast it out. Go ahead.
20. And Yahushua said unto them, because of your unbelief.
See that? They didn't have to believe to get that power. He just gave them the power. They believed on him, but they didn't have the belief to cast this out at the time. So since it was unbelief there, the power of fasting and prayer supersedes that unbelief because it'll begin to bring faith in you. Because the more that flesh begin to get destroyed, you'll start believing. That's the thing. So since you had unbelief in you, you couldn't cast it out. He believed, so he was able to cast them out. But the disciples had unbelief. This is why they couldn't cast it out. See, this is the thing. There's no perfect man walking among us. You have to go through the necessary steps it takes to get to where you got to get. It takes training. You have to get to a point where you can actually do things on the fly by actually being disciplined. Some things take a strong level of discipline to do, and people see you do it, and they'll say, man, I like that. That happens just like clockwork. They'll try to do it and can't do it. But they can't do it because they don't have anything put in it. There's no investment. Go ahead.
For amen, I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit, this kind goes not out but by prayer and fasting.
You say, howbeit this kind? It goes not out but by prayer and fasting. When I say this kind, that's the meat of things I'm talking about. We'll get into this kind of demon can only come out but by prayer and fasting. It don't come out because you just said a prayer, because I gave you. We all have the grace of Yah. We all been saved. Everything. If everything is in common, why do we need people? It say, saying it talks about ministers. It talks about preachers. It says, give your preachers after his own heart. How can they preach unless they've been sent? Oh, how beautiful the feet of those that go out and they preach the gospel. This thing. So this we have to look at right here. This kind of demon, this kind of ruach comes out only by prayer and fast. One verse begin to say by much prayer and fast. And so we have to look at it right here for what it's worth. So in this to say that we end this on prayer and fasting because of the fact that that's what it's going to take to stand in this time where we're in now. You're going to have a relationship with Yah. It don't just come out of the fly. A lot of junk stuff that's going on. I call a lot of junk food, like a lot of stuff that's clouding your understanding. Some of that stuff has to be put down to a minimum, especially when you're fasting. You don't even want to be on a lot of social media and a lot of all this entertainment stuff. Because guess what? At the end of the day, it's only infiltrating your, it's messing up the ruach. You begin to take that in. When that flesh will begin to weak, you don't want to strengthen it with something else that it like doing. You want to make sure you strengthen it with something that the flesh is not like it. That's why I talk about the ruach and the flesh. These two are contrary one to another. And so you want to make sure that you're strengthening your ruach with the things of the ruach. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that you're in prayer, making sure that you're reading the word, making sure that you're in communication with Yah, listen to what he needs to tell you to do because of the fact that you're destroying that flesh. Then you'll see the power of Yah begin to move in your life. You'll see things that you thought could never happen begin to happen based upon that stuff. Not testimony time, but there's plenty of testimonies I got. A ton of them that happened when the plate was pushed back. He came, I'm talking about like a mighty rushing wind. I got examples. My wife back half of it I can back up before I met her that the Most High would just do stuff. I remember fasting, having to pay the light bill, and I was saying just kicking up a diamond ring kicks up inside the ground. I go take it, wash it off, take it to the pawn shop, got the money to pay my light bill and some money to go eat with. This is just out the blue. I'm just kicking in the dirt. I ain't trying to do it. I said, what is this? It's a ring. Now I watch it off, it's a real diamond ring, a diamond ring with gold on it. Went and took it and pawned it, paid my bill. That's it. And this is just showing how the Most High thinking, I don't know how this is going to do, what's going to happen. Push back that plate, walk outside, out of the blue, there it go, out of nowhere. That's it. And so this is the thing. So this is the power of prayer and fasting. Like if he'll close the lilies of the field, which are gone to here today and gone tomorrow, how much more would he close us? I mean, how much more would he feed us? Like it's nothing to worry about. Like say, as long as you're in the Most High, what's going on now doesn't supersede the Most High. Nothing is different just because they're doing everything they're doing. What makes us bow to that? We don't supposed to borrow that. We're supposed to see what does the Most High want us to do. In the midst of all form of chaos, you'll see everything is working right. Look at Lot, was in Sodom and Gomorrah. Look how wicked this place was. They wanted to be with the angels. Like they were so wicked, and he was there. He had to get out of there, and the Most High was going to destroy that place, but he got them out of there. And then he got them out of there. Then they had somebody talking to the Most High. They had Abraham interceding on their behalf. We have a mediator now. We have Yahushua Mashiach that we go to, and he'll begin to go to the Father on our behalf and let us know what should we do in this hour. Not everything that they're thinking we should be doing. So basically, we end with a like I say, you know, with a life of prayer and fasting. Everything should work out and make sure we abide in our calling. And to abide in that calling, you got to do it because they were in their calling. The disciples were in their calling in Matthew. They couldn't cast it out. That's what he said, go do. Go heal the sick. They said, why can't we cast them out? He said, howbeit this kind comes our own, but by prayer and fasting. And so that's the thing. So this we have to look at, you know, making sure that we live that lifestyle of prayer and fasting and praise and worshiping. Yeah, this is what this all boils down to. Everything that I'm going to be getting to, this is the meter thing. It's all centered and spearheaded by the chief cornerstone, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. We're getting into real true deliverance and getting into real true hearing from Yah until a point where we can get a breakthrough, not just hearing a bunch of, you know, just stuff that we think he said, stuff that we know he said that's going to bring us results. Hallelujah for this. I'm going to say a prayer and close it out, and we'll have a small discussion. Father, Yah, we just thank you right now. As we heard the word, we thank right now that the word went forth, that it began to go in our heart, began to direct us into the right path. And we just thank you in the name of the Son, Yahushua Mashiach, we depart from each other. Hallelujah. All right, y'all, we can kind of talk for a minute. Don't know who we got on here. Like just us, and we got the Perkins. I can't see who else on here. I can't see this thing that good.
It's the Perkins.
Hello.
Shalom. So, oh yeah, so we waiting on y'all to say something.
Oh,
that was a great lesson.
indeed. But I know like I'm buffering. No, you know, to separate yourself and come out from among them. You know, of course, you know that in the physical form, but I think he was mentioning it a little bit a while ago. You know, just like with social media. You know, got to separate yourself from that too, because it's the same thing, the same spirits dealing with, you know, the social media aspect. Put that stuff to the side. Separate yourself, get with the Most High, let him download knowledge, wisdom, and understanding about you and what you're supposed to be doing in life. But just my point was, not just in the physical form, but also you gotta separate yourself. And I'm so grateful that I don't have any of that. Not no Facebook, Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
My bad. Could you repeat that?
Ooh, yeah, I was no, as Aryeh was talking about separating yourself and coming out from among them in the earlier part of the lesson. Then he started talking about the social media aspect. You know, it's like we separate ourselves from people in the physical form. We also separate ourselves, you know, from social media, because same people, same spirits.
Right.
That's right.
You know, but it's the same thing. You know, once just get in line with the Most High. So that means everything else to the side, and it's just you and him, you know.
That's right. That's right.
That's the truth. There's so much crazy stuff on social media. It's amazing. Social media and just the media, the news and everything.
I know.
But what's crazy, well, that ain't crazy. You know, people just do weird stuff to try to keep you attached to the nonsense. Like, I could be to myself, or you could be to yourself, you know, and then they'll be looking at their phone, be like, hey, look.
Right,
you know.
they want to pull you in.
They want to bring you in there. Check this out. I used to stop a lot of that stuff at work. I don't want to see it.
Hey, you get rebuked.
Yeah, big time. You know, guys trying to show pictures of ladies and stuff. No, man, I'm good.
Right.
Oh, you don't show him, man. He good. Yeah, I mean, like that. You already know what it's about, you know.
Right.
Did y'all have anything, children? Nobody else said anything? Well, are you on there?
Hmm.
You can.
It's not echo.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, you can talk out loud.
You did get into one of my all-time favorite stories in the Bible, you know, about the old prophet and the new prophet.
Yeah.
You know, having that understanding about the old prophet, that's just what he was. He was an old prophet who was not being used by the Most High.
At all. He got used when he got ready to tell that
The bad news prophet, yeah.
He got used then, just not for that good stuff. Why did he get used? It was like he got the ass from everything, got him ready to go to his death.
Yeah.
That was messed up though.
He tricked him. He said, now the word is coming from y'all. He said, oh, you just told me something different.
Right.
He waited as soon as he finished chewing that food.
He came out strong too, boy. He said, he cried out, what have you done? That says y'all. Let him take you out of position.
Yeah.
Can't let nobody trick us. We gotta know what's going on. Say no though.
Yeah.
Like how we know each other. We've been around each other. We know those people that come in have to spend time to know more. You have to, you know, that's how it happens. Say know those that labor among you. Like say, you know, we knowing people. Like we can say we know y'all. I mean, that's it. So we know ones. I mean, that's how you get to a point where you know individuals. It's people coming out the blue. We can't just take their word, you know, for anything just because they showed up on the scene is not good enough. You have to be able to spend time enough, you know, to actually, you know, where you can kind of see, you know, see where they're coming from, see what kind of longevity they got. They've been standing. You got people that probably show up, prophesying, been married 8 times. I mean, like that. I mean, like, why is it working? All of a sudden, you some kind of bishop or someone supposed to be listening to. You can't even keep one wife. I mean, like.
That's true.
Yeah, that's what happens in the church where he be on the 3rd and 4th wife. I was saying we supposed to just
Hebrew
take that.
world too.
You know, I call it after church world. I mean, it's the same thing. All of it is church world now.
It's worse than
when I say the church world now, I'm speaking of Hebrew and speaking of this here because it's like. Yeah.
Did you stop the
We
recording?
stop.
Okay, but yeah, yeah, especially in the walk, as they say, because it's easier for them because they don't ain't no paperwork tied to it, so they just want to put you away. You know, they put you away.
So now he got a whole different one. He came and told her, "Hey, look, you know, you my wife, blah blah." And it's just starting. The process starts over and over and over again. This is where you got to be in the ruach. You got to make sure that you know, and it is what it is. You just have to be careful out here.